In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your wheel cylinder on your Ford Ranger. It's located behind your rear wheel. Take off our lug nuts with a 19mm socket. Okay, every time that you want to do a hydraulic job on your vehicle, it's good to press the brake pedal down with a pry bar and wedge it up against your seat. That way you don't lose more brake fluid than you have to. Okay, you're going to want to remove your drum. Sometimes you have to undo the adjuster in the back. There's a little rubber cover that you peel off and you back off the adjuster to take the drum off if you can't get it off just by pulling. So after you take the drum off, this is the wheel cylinder, and that's what we're going to replace. So rather than take all this apart, better way to do it, if your brakes look like they're in good shape, is to just remove your spring down here and take this adjuster out and remove these two springs and leave everything else intact. All right, so first you're going to want to see if you can spread your shoes apart at all. Sometimes drum brakes get a little frozen and don't want to move. These look pretty good. So now we're going to take our green spring off first. Going to use a brake tool like this. Get right under it. May take a few tries. So now this shoe is free enough. Just keep a mental note of what you're taking apart. And now I'm going to take this yellow spring off. There you go. So I'm just going to move that off to the side. I want to make a mental note that this is what holds this cable for the e-brake down here. So now we're going to take out these rods that go into the wheel cylinder. And put that off to the side. I'm going to use the needle nose so you can grab onto it a little better. And you can put that up there. So using a 13mm socket, we are going to break free these bolts. Once you have broken those free, we're going to take out our brake line. I'm going to use a 3/8 or a 10mm, depending on if these lines have ever been replaced. All right, I'm just going to move that out of the way. And now we're going to continue taking out the rest of those bolts. Again, using a 13mm socket. Most likely your wheel cylinder is not just going to fall right out. You're going to have to pry it out a little bit. So I'm going to take a screwdriver and give it a little persuasion. There we go. All right, so once you pry it out, it should come out pretty good. There you go. So this comes with the bleeder. So if you're also having an issue trying to crack your bleeder free to bleed the brakes, this is a good reason to have a wheel cylinder replacement. Okay, so now we're just going to clean up this area, make sure the surface is free of rust and grime, and it'll make the wheel cylinder fit better. And at this point, you can clean up your drum brakes. If there's a lot of brake dust, just use a little brake clean. Let that air dry. I'm going to put my wheel cylinder in. I'm gonna let it fall a little bit out and place my rods inside. Once you get that one in, you can work on the other one. You may have to move a shoe out of the way in order to get it hooked in there right. Okay, once you got everything all lined up, make sure your wheel cylinder is properly located in the back and it fits through that cutout opening. Mine's lined up, so I'm going to go ahead and put my bolts in. I'm going to start them by hand. Okay, once you get that started by hand, you can go ahead and snug them up. All right, we are going to torque these to 10 foot-pounds. Okay. All right, so once you get your wheel cylinder in there, you're going to get your springs back in place. Just make sure this cable and bracket is in the hole over here. If you've taken it out, you can pick that up underneath if it falls out. Okay, so once you get your spring in there and that bracket back, you're going to put your yellow spring on first. Make sure that hasn't fallen out. Make sure your adjuster is good. And now you can put your green spring back on. Check everything, make sure everything's attached the way it should be. And now we can connect our brake line to our wheel cylinder. All right, so you're going to take out the plug. If there's one in the back of your wheel cylinder, you're going to insert your line and thread it in. I'm using a 10mm line wrench to tighten this up. Okay, just snug it down after it bottoms out. All right, so you're going to want to clean out your drum with a little brake clean and then let it air dry before you install. You can put some anti-seize on your hub. Once that dries out, you can put it on. Your adjuster is all the way closed, so your drum should go right on. All right, so obviously this is way too loose. So we're gonna adjust the adjuster a little bit, just till you hear a little bit of drag and it's not just gonna fall right off. And then when the wheels are on, we can do a better adjustment. So you're gonna take out this rubber seal. Don't lose it because you're gonna put it back. And you're going to find the wheel in there on the adjuster. you're going to push the screwdriver towards the floor. So you're spinning that wheel down. And as you're doing that, you are turning that drum to see if it's getting tighter. All right, so you're just going to keep adjusting until there's enough drag on that drum where it doesn't freely spin around and around. And then when we get the tires on, we'll adjust it again. You may be adjusting these brakes again, but you never want to lose this because if dirt gets in there, you're going to ruin your brakes. So just put that back where you found it until you can adjust them again. Okay, so now that we're done doing the hydraulics, we can take that out. All right, so now we're going to gravity bleed this wheel cylinder. You're going to take off your rubber cap off the bleeder screw. Set that where you can find it again. I'm going to use a 10mm socket or wrench. And you're going to loosen it up a little bit and wait for the fluid. And you're just waiting to see if you see any air bubbles coming out. We're looking pretty good. Doesn't look like much air is coming out, if any. Steady stream for the most part, so I'm going to tighten it back up. Clean the area with a little brake clean. You're going to put your wheel back on and pump the brakes up. See if your pedal feels good and firm and right at the top. If it doesn't, then you're going to have to do a full brake bleed procedure. At this point, you can put your rubber cap back on, your bleeder screw. You want to do that so the debris doesn't get in there. Now head over to your master cylinder and make sure the fluid is topped off. If it isn't, top it off. The other thing you want to check after doing a wheel cylinder and adjusting your drum brakes, before you take it for a test drive with the wheels on, you're going to want to make sure your adjusters are in the right spot. So when we put the wheels back on, we'll show you how to do that. All right, so we can put our wheel back on. Just make sure you got a hand on it. Snug these up in a star-like pattern. All right, now that we have our wheel back on, we're going to take our rubber cap off to adjust our brakes. So the first thing you want to do is spin the wheel, and you're listening for a high spot in the drum and the shoe hitting the drum. If it spins too freely, it's not adjusted properly. And you gotta make it so the shoes are closer to the drum. So I'm gonna put my adjuster tool in, and I'm gonna grab that wheel and I'm gonna push it down towards the floor. If you hear the clicking, you know you're going the right way. I can start to hear it already. Now we're looking for the wheel to come to like a full rotation and then stop on its own. Needs to be a little bit more. That's probably good. So make sure you put your rubber cap back on when you're done, because that keeps the dirt out. Okay, so we're going to torque our wheels to 100 foot-pounds with a 19mm socket in a star-like pattern. then I like to double check all the way around. All right, so we're going to inspect our cap, make sure there's no debris on it, and open it up. At this point, you want to siphon out all the fluid out of the master cylinder and put in clean fluid. I'm using this turkey baster sort of looking siphon. There's Betty out there. This one works just fine. Take the fluid out, and then in your pan, I usually put mine on top of the engine. You're just going to put the fluid in. You're going to get out as much as possible. That's probably good. All right, so now let's add some clean fluid up to the max. Okay, that's good. Make sure you use the recommended brake fluid per manufacturer. Usually says it on the cap. Put the cap back on, make sure you're clean. And now we're going to bleed the brakes. The bleeding sequence is right rear, right front, left front. Okay, you're on your right rear wheel. You're going to take off your rubber cap off your bleeder screw. You're going to need somebody in the vehicle to pump up the brakes so you can bleed them. You're going to want to catch your brake fluid with either a container with a hose or just a drip pan below. And let's begin. I'm going to ask my person in the truck to pump up the brakes for me. He's holding the brake. I'm going to use a 10mm line wrench, and I'm going to loosen up my bleeder. He's going to let me know when it goes to the ground, floor, and then I'm going to tighten it up, and I'm going to ask him to pump it up. He's holding. It's to the floor. Okay, he's holding. It to the floor? Okay. So I'm going to tighten this one up. I'm going to clean off my area, and I'm going to go to my left rear. Put your rubber cap on. And now we're going to go to our left rear. So after you've done the first two wheels, bleeding the brakes, you're going to want to check your level on your master cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead and put some fluid in, make sure it's at the max. Put your cap back on, make sure it's tight, and you may proceed. So here we are at our right front. We're going to take off our rubber cap off our bleeder screw. And I'm going to have my helper pump up the brakes for me. So he's holding it. I'm going to use a 10mm line wrench, and I'm going to loosen up my bleeder. I'm tightening it. He's to the floor. Pump it up. He's holding. Open it up. It's to the floor. Close it. Pump it up, please. He's holding. That looks better. So once you don't see any more air bubbles or hear the air bubbles, you can move to the next wheel. It's usually about 3 or 4 times. I'll let that drain into my thing. You should always have a drip pan below you, even if you do have a hose. It can be a little messy. And now I'm going to clean the area. After you clean it off, you can put your rubber cap back on. Let's move on to our last wheel. All right, so now you're going to make sure your master cylinder is topped off. Take off that cap. Fill it up to max. Make sure you put your cap back on, nice and tight. You're going to put your wheels on, torque them. Now you're going to check your pedal. If it's firm, you're good to go. Take it for a road test. If it's not and it feels soft, you're going to do the brake bleed procedure one more time.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.